Thanks again for checking out Crash Command Games. This is kind of a one-off segment. Not a one-off because I've already done a few other deck techs, but you know what I mean. There's no real name for what I do here other than just deck techs. What do we call this? Crash test dummy? I don't know. Crash dummy testing, something like that. This episode is going to be more focused on Prism Awakener of Sol, who we can now look at right here. This is the deck I've been testing largely over the last couple of months. I thought I was going to be bringing this deck to Pro Tour, but as we inch closer and closer to the actual Pro Tour date, my data is showing that she has some really rough spots, okay? I have some anomalous data available to me that I don't think fits the norm. I'm not saying like, oh, I'm a crazy good player, but this is my experience. Okay, so I'm just going to go over to my data real quick while we look over the deck. Let's go ahead and let's look at the deck. Let's look at the deck first. Okay, so Prism Awakener of Sol is obviously the hero we're going to be playing. Okay, can move my little Prism BCW. Get at me, boys. Get at me. For the Prism deck box, the literal Prism deck box. Okay. This is the equipment suite that I run most of the time. Most of the time, this is what we're going to be running, okay? That is Luminaris, Angel's Glow, Halo of Illumination, Vestige of Sol, Stonewall Gauntlet, and the Phantasmal Footsteps, okay? 90% of the games I run usually have this kind of a setup. I just think Vestige of Sol puts out too much value for me to ignore. Empyrean Rapture is fine and nice. Maybe in the Wizard matchup. I've discovered that's probably the way to go because the game's not really going to run that long for the most part. And just being able to free flip, always worth it. So, this is my primary suite. Then we have this, which comes in for a few matchups. This, which comes in for a few matchups. And then obviously, like I said, we have the Wizard suite down there. Other than that, you just need your quick assortment of tokens. Shields, Courage, Ponders, right? This is more than enough to deal with the whole field right now. And it's going to be situational when obviously you take in and out these cards, as it always is. But that's the equipment suite that I'm running. Quick play-by-play. This is most aggro matchups. This is most matchups. The only matchups this doesn't come in are like KO, Armed and Dangerous, and the Guardians, right? The Guardians just have too high of power, and they're going to pop your left and right. They're going to pop your stuff left and right. So that is obviously when we replace that with Iris of Reality. Okay. Anytime you think you're just going to have a rough time with big old poppers, you just need to bring an Iris of Reality and go for... Because that means they're probably only playing one attack a turn. One big attack, maybe an agility token gets them to go again. But if they're hitting your Spectra Auras, well, that'll give you an advantage. So Iris of Reality comes in against any deck that has just big-ass attacks, just left and right. Halo's always the headpiece. There's nothing else to do. It's just, you just need to be more patient with this card than you think you do. And in some of the matchups, this will determine the game. Halo of Illumination is crazy right now. Vestige of Sol, like I said, most of the time is the play. I know other decks are running Empyrean Rapture. I, as you saw, do not have it. Okay, I think Vestige of Sol, it's just too much value, right? It's just consistent value I can turn on at any time. How else do you say it? It's going to get you more resources overall. Empyrean Rapture in the aggro matchup, like I said, is probably worth it, but I just don't do it. Next up, you have the gloves. You have three options. It's your most versatile slot. Stonewall Gauntlet is going to be coming in against any kind of ninja or Bolton. Not the other two, not Dorinthia or... well, actually, it's just Bolton, really. Because you're saving this for the Via the Vanguard turn. Same with ninjas. If they look like they're trying to create a chain or have Art of War popping off, this can kind of save you a little bit. Wave Reality comes in when you bring in Iris. Yeah, the realities pair together very well, right? The realities definitely pair together super well. it sets you up to have at least a Spectral Shield on your turn to swing with Iris of Reality if you don't have any other tokens. You should ideally be going first anyway to set up multiple auras and then use Wave of Reality as a bounce back. I found this to be pretty invaluable in most games. Null Rune is Wizard. It's just Wizard. Maybe Rune Blade, if that makes a comeback. We'll see. Phantasmal Footsteps, 99% of the time is going to be... Does my nose stuff up when I close the door? I think that's a thing. I gotta Google that. Like, that's super weird. Because it was clear up until I closed that door to record. Phantasmal Footsteps. Phantasmal Footsteps is just... It's too good a value. It blocks. It gets your action points back. It does it all. You need this in your deck no matter what. Stilettos, again, the Wizard play. Nothing too crazy to go over there. This is stuff that you've probably already seen in most other Prism videos. I don't know that I have a super unique Prism deck, but we're just going to go over each card. This is in my deck. The Great Library, 100% is in my deck. Some people say it's a win more card. I don't even look at it as a win secured card. The only matches it comes out are in really, really aggro matches, right? We can go over a quick couple of my matchups where it does come out. Let's see here. Great Library comes out against KO and Sir Bolton Breaker of Dawn in my notes. That's the only times I see this coming out. It's KO. The match isn't going to go long enough. You're not going to have a good enough chance of hitting this. It might turn the game around, but I'd rather have a card that blocks or pitches or something in my hand that can help me out against KO or Sir Bolton Breaker. And also, Bolton will probably be able to use the Great Library. So, this is in my deck. 100%. And the reason for that being, it develops so much advantage for you over the course of every other game. There is no reason you should not be playing the Great Library of Solana, in my personal opinion, if the game is not one of those two matchups I listed. Maybe into Kano, but even then, Wizard, really. But even then, it could still have its use, because you just drop this, you're passing a turn, they can try to shoot you for something, but you'll probably still have ward or cards to pitch. And then even then, you get Intellect 5, and then you start to develop that overwhelming board presence, and you just secure the game. Any of the ninjas, obviously, this kind of sucks to have, but you put it down, and it gives you a better chance to have more options to ward out some things, or maybe just get more aggressive and try to seal the game faster before they find their explosive turns. There's really not a lot of cases I don't like this. Maybe Riptide this comes out. Maybe the Ranger match this comes out. I have to get more games under my belt against the Rangers to confirm that. But it provides so much value over the game. And then even if you do get it kind of late, whatever. There's just no reason not to run it. So we'll put cards over here. Next up are obviously the Arclight Sentinel. There's very few matches these come out, if any. Do they even come? I don't even know if they come out in any matches. These are main deck for me. What can be said about them? Ranger pumps more than once. Bam, Arclight Sentinel. Right? Warrior starts to pump. Arclight Sentinel. Guardian's Seismic Surge cracks. Arclight Sentinel. Every single match. These are really, really good. And these do come out in the Wizard matchup, though. So do note that. Celestial Cataclysm. These are good endgame finishers. If you're very careful about your soul management and actually develop a good state to work with, Celestial Cataclysms are really good. They're also poppers, and on top of that have 3 defense, right? They're just overall solid cards, belong in every single matchup, minus... Let me make sure. Let's see, Celestial Cataclysm. No. I actually don't really remove these in many matchups. Maybe in the more aggro matchups, like... where you won't see a lot of soul. So maybe in like the ninja matchups, where you're probably going to go a little bit long, or maybe Sir Bolton Breaker Dawn, these come out, but they're still a block 3, so they're very good. I have the generic, right? It's just like, what are you going to do about this? What do you change? These are the ones that I always run. Some people are running Tenacity. I don't think I see a problem with Tenacity. I'm going to open that door and see if my nose unplugs. And it did. Okay. So, I'm probably going to be running all of the Figments. There's no reason for me not to be doing so. Okay, either way, all the Figments get run, right? This is for the Arclight Sentinel loop. This is for stopping any popper at any point in time. This card is extraordinarily good. Some people might be sleeping on Figment of War still, but I've discovered in the Enigma matchup, if you get a few of your Figments out, and then you just flip a few of these, attack with one Angel, not Angel, one Herald, and then you flip 2 of these and you get the 5 going, it starts to pressure their ward as well as them a lot. And I've gotten, I think, 3 Angels at 5 to 6 counters. No, 5 to 6 power off of Figment of War against Enigma. Ravages, again, good for 90% of matchups. It's got really good range on it. It's our version of the Rosetta Thorn, and on top of that, can tackle some really, really irritating Enigma turns. Figment of Protection is going to be helping us in most of our aggro matches. Sir Bolt and Breaker of Dawn, this has won me a game on its own. God, I hope you could not hear that. It's very likely that was audible, though. Figment of Protection is just up, hands down, one of the most useful cards in this deck. I prefer not to search it out with Halo of Illumination, but you know, if you really need that 1 life. And then obviously Figment of Erudition is just one of the first Figments you're going to pop out because it gives you a Ponder token, it gives you Arsenal opportunity, as well as puts your opponent on notice. You're about to start drawing cards. So that's a Figment package that I specifically run. I do believe there's another one, but obviously any Guardian matchup or any matchup where they're just swinging big, like Brutes, 1 Genesis comes out in the Brute matchup. I run 2 of these, right, in the Brute matchup, but in every other matchup it looks like I have them, except for, again, Sir Bolt and Breaker of Dawn. So, because he's just going to take them out anyway. So these are in the matchup against Sir Bolt and Breaker of Dawn. I just don't understand why you wouldn't be trying to run that Aura package against him. It gives you a Spectral Shield. It gives him an obvious target. Now, obviously, he's going to kick the shit out of you and then probably just Spectra anyway, but you had to take some of the damage off of you. Next up here, we have Herald of Erudition. This card is a mainstay. This card never comes out. I have never once taken this card out. I don't think anybody in the history of time ever has. You do have to be more careful with this card. I was watching like the Cyprus Nationals with that Prism player. I've been keeping a pretty close eye on a lot of Prism players. I have seen them pop Goliath Gauntlets, which, again, you see this deck does not run. They just waste this card needlessly. They put it out on turns they know that it's going to get popped. You need to use this as a setup, or you're just going to pitch it away for later in the game. You need to make sure that this is making a tough decision for your opponent, not for you. Herald of Judgment, generic, 3-block, yellow. Very good against Zen, very good against any of the Rune Blades. Very situationally against Wizard. They can just kind of wait this one out, though, and just do whatever they want anyway. There's no reason not to run it main board. Over here, we have Heralds of Protection, right? Yellow, 6 power, 3 block, 7 value, really. They're just fantastic cards. Herald of Triumph, nobody's surprised. You need to be running Rainbow Triumph, so I'm just going over the yellow cards apparently right now. -1 to the power, gives them a decision to make, and then works in tandem with Figment of Triumph, as well as any other minus power solution that you have. Now, you can trip yourself up really bad if you try to attack with Herald of Triumph and you have a Passing Mirage out first, because they were probably just going to block it anyway. You just need to be mindful of that so you don't trap yourself into a suboptimal play. This is the MVP of the deck. I'm going to be real with you. Merciful Retribution has saved many a game for me in most of my testing. It goes swing with like a War-Tune Herald, they block it or whatever, they pop it, you pitch another blue with the resources you have up, you Merciful Retribution, it goes to your soul, you get to search your deck anyway, they take an arcane damage or they spend some of their resources to do otherwise, and then you can just go ahead and flip the angel or do whatever with, because now a card went to your soul, Vestige of Souls turned on, your whole turn is opened up, you're probably drawing a card, like it's just this card wins games. It just does. Next up are the Soul Shields. Pretty invaluable. I don't know that they come out in any matchups. They probably come out... No, I don't see any matchups they come out in. Nope, you just want Soul Shields. They're just good. They go to your soul. They feed your soul. They cost 2 resources, which is kind of unfortunate, but they block 6. They help you deal with a lot of assassin shenanigans. They think they're just going to stop you from doing damage prevention, but then you just have these giant reactions to get in the way of just a Nick from the... what the hell is that card called? Something Prognosis. The point is that card sucks. Next up are going to be the Tome of Divinities. I only run 2 of them. It's not that I think it's like a win more card. Like I said earlier, I'm not really afraid of those cards. I'm not going to try to click and record at the same time. It's not that I think that they're a win more card or anything. It's just that they don't block for anything. They're very limited. You don't want to be drawing into 3 of them. You just want to have maybe 1 distributed here and there. It's also a light card for most of the light cards to hit if you need a light card. But I just don't like having as many instants in the deck. I think it leaves you too vulnerable to certain attacks, right? But I think 2 of them is a very good sweet spot that I have found. Wartune Heralds. Obvious card is obvious. It's just a 6 power for 1, blocks 3, yellow pit. It does it all. We're getting into the blues. It looks like I have the blue Wartune Heralds as well. I didn't have the reds in the main deck, but they are in there. What more is there to say? Pierce Reality. I run 2 of these guys. These are very good against the Assassins, the Illusionist Mirror. Doesn't matter which one. You can just start presenting massive damage, and if they don't have one of their weird poppers that they have to sideboard in and sacrifice some of their deck synergy for, then this just starts pushing mad damage. Obviously, in every matchup where the auras are important, these come in pretty clutch. Passing Mirage, this never comes out of the deck. I have never once taken this out of the deck. It stops Phantasms, it has Spectra, it's attackable with Iris of Reality, it does it all. It's another superstar of the deck. Herald of Triumph blues, as stated before, they're very obvious to be in the deck. They just do what they do. Same thing though, I really want to drill it into you. If you have a Passing Mirage in play, try not to be attacking with Herald of Triumph first. You need to maximize your efficiency and tricks. I have seen too many players on stream and in big events do that. It's insane. I like blue Herald of Ravages. I just think 6 points of value for 2 resources is super good. Obviously it has Phantasm, but it's also just a very versatile card as a resource. And then obviously at the end of the game, they have to block it. Otherwise, sometimes they take the 1 point of damage, and sometimes that's too much. I run 2 Herald of Protection blues just to round out my resource curve. I know a lot of people are very high on this card, but I like to be a little bit more offensive, right? I just like to be a little bit more offensive with and I don't have Soraya. If I were on the archetype of this deck that ran Soraya, we might be considering even the red ones, just to make sure I have Spectral Shields around. Now we're onto the inventory portion of this. These are some of the flex cards. So now that we've gone over my main deck, we can kind of talk about how it is built. The deck has 56 cards in it naturally. You don't have to do a lot of inventory work. This is a very, very stable build for the most part. I have found that sometimes if I'm just not able to think, that this is just brain dead, for a lack of a better word. You will still have to think a lot during the match because it is Prism, but you don't have to make any big decisions really. So let's take a look at my inventory real quick and then we'll get back to the deck. We have Figment of Judgment. Obviously this is huge for Rune Blades, maybe Wizards in a very weird case scenario where they can't play it at instant, or that's a hard one, but largely it's against Zen and Katsu. This is largely what this card is for. They try to go get a combo card, you just say F that, we're doing this now. Kind of hard to do though. You have to have the right timing, you have to make sure that it's searchable. It's a lot you have to make this work for, but then obviously it's just a niche card. It doesn't come in too often, let me put it that way. In the Kano matchup this also comes in though, because you just want as much ward as possible. Haze Bending, not a lot to talk about here. I swear I hit record and my nose just stuffs up. I have no idea what that's about. But either way, Haze Bending, any of the really rough matchups, let me take a quick peek. You take 2 of these out and you leave 1 of these in against Sir Bolton Breaker Dawn to try to give yourself a little bit of flex room. But a lot of the time it is just going to be in most builds actually. No aggro matchup builds, but in KO it goes in, and in Bravo it goes in. Victor as well, obviously, because he's another one of those heroes that like to beat up on you through big attacks and less attacks. So, use your brain on this. If they're going too quick and have too many options for, like Mechanologist, obviously this is not a very good card against. I'm on 2 quote-unquote spicy cards. I do not like Angelic Wrath. It is an instant card, which leaves you vulnerable to really shitty attacks. So is Celestial Reprimand. They're offensive. They need to be kind of stored and planned around when you already have to do a lot of planning in this deck. Celestial Glow or Luminaris, Angel's Glow solves a lot of our problems offensively, and having to plan 2 offensively sometimes becomes a chore and leaves you way too open for attack. I instead opt for 2 of these bad boys.
Ugh. Brother, ugh. What's that?
All right. Against Rangers, against the big dominated attacks, against the big overpower attacks, these have saved my game and saved my ward, right? They're yellow pitch, and they can still be used on the defensive and save my turn for the offensive. I love these cards. I realize a couple other people won't like them, but I have seen some Prisms running Sink Below, and I just go question marks. If you're going to block with one card and try to Sink Below to cover the big attacks, is this not the same thing with a yellow pitch? That's my argument. Deal with it. These are my favorite cards ever. These, like I said, I have some anomalous data. I'm not sure if my deck is just super good at dealing with Bolton or KO, but you know, they try to block with something, you drop a Parable of Humility, they go, oh shit, I'm going to get hit, and then you drop Erudition, you just go crazy, right? They're going to have to take this out, they're going to have to roll Scabs to take this out, or Bolton's going to have to try to take this out. On top of that, the last game that I won against Bolton, it was V for the Vanguard for 2, block with Stonewall Gauntlets, play a Parable of Humility, he has to pass the turn, and Arsenal. This has been invaluable in offsetting my problems with some of the more irritating decks that Prism has to deal with. I run 3 of them. We'll go over match-specific stuff later, but for now, just know that I run 3 of them. And then we have the last 6 Heralds. Aggro, non-aggro. It's very, very, very simple. A lot of people think Prism's a little more complicated than she really is. So now that we've gone over the deck, there's not really anything super crazy, I think, about my deck other than the Celestial Resolves or the Parables of Humility, which I don't think are in a lot of decks. They might have hit a couple of the bigger decks. I know I only run 2 Pierce Realities when some people run 0 or 3. 2 Tome of Divinities is another little bit of spice to save some cards for the Parable of Humilities. I have had some middling success with this deck. I am not here. Oh, Light of Souls also in my deck. Sorry, that was upside down. It's obvious that's in my deck. So I want to quickly go over just some of the numbers. I try to get as many games as I can in, and I only have 135 games with this deck. A lot of those are against Guardian. A lot of those are against Brute. That's just my meta. And my at-home partner is a Guardian player most of the time. Sometimes busts out other decks, but right now mostly Guardian. So if we look at my win-loss, it's 56.06%. That is really good, but we have to look at who I tested against. I tested nothing against Betsy, nothing against Dash, nothing against Dash.io, no Dorinthia, no Phi, no Max. I'm the only Max player in the area actively right now. I haven't gotten any testing against Olympia, Victor, or Viserai. Oh, and Teklevasan. We have a Teklo in our area, but I just haven't played against him. I just keep harping on this. There are too many goddamn heroes for me to test against. I am one person. Obviously, we could get a collective of people to get onto one deck, and we could really hammer out the testing. But I don't have the biggest community. We keep trying to grow it. It sees little growth here and there. Another 2 stores in the area are looking to start introducing this game, but I just don't want it to be us showing up again. I want new players, new people traveling left and right, and then we can see a little intermingling and more meta. But as one person, I cannot test against every hero all the time. Obviously, I can get onto Talishar, but I don't know if it's me being stubborn or if it's something else. I don't like Talishar. I feel like I have to relearn the game to play on Talishar. I feel like it's not the same experience. It's not giving me the same muscle memory or the same tactile response that my brain is going to need when I'm in person. to play this. Obviously, theoretically, it should be the same, but it just does not feel the same at all. So that is, again, another pin in the why do we have so many goddamn heroes? I can't keep up. Right? Why do we have so many goddamn heroes? The heroes I do have practice and testing against are Arachne, Azalea, Bravo, Showstopper is my most practiced match. Enigma, Ledger of Ancestry. KO, Armed and Dangerous is my second most practiced match because I thought it was going to be the really hard one. New Alluring Desire, Riptide, Sir Bolton, Breaker of Dawn, Uzuri, Vincent, and Zen, Tamer of Purpose. These are my practice matches. Now, there's a lot of relevant names in there, and I think I still have a relevant set of data for everybody. Again, win ratio is 56%, right? We can just go down the list, and I'll just tell you my worst matchups. Bravo, the Showstopper, is just... I don't know if it's my play. I don't know if it's my opponent's play. I don't know what. It's just a 33% win rate. It's really bad. 50% win ratio going first. 40% win ratio going second. Is that math right? Hold on. No. Hold on. I forgot to add a match. No, that's right. That's right. The data's there. The things that I track, by the way, they're going to be in my Patreon. So if you want to have access to all the numbers, so you can fine tune your match and really see what the problems are, the list is going to be in that spreadsheet, only accessible through link. Which obviously, if you're a patron and you try to share it, you'll obviously be able to share it. It just hurts my feelings. And then you'll be able to access the list through the links, and you'll be able to see the raw numbers and actually look at every little bit of data. So we're just going to go over a couple of stats I track. Win, loss, draw, total games tested, win-loss ratio, subjects' end game health, opponents' end game health. And then I give like a subjective rating on how difficult the match was between 1 and 3. Then I track win ratio going first, win ratio going second. Sometimes I track cards that help. Okay. So I really can't tell you how many games these two cards have turned. Since this card has launched, my Sir Bolton, Breaker of Dawn win rate has gone through the roof because they're only really going to hit that combo once or twice a game, and you can Arclight one of them. You can do this. The last one that I won was against an opponent at a Friday Night Armory. First turn, I dropped 2 auras, passed the turn, arsenal to card. They had a really awkward hand and was probably banking on being able to filter some of that through my attacking. That was not the case. I later, on my turn, presented like an attack and then played the Arclight Sentinel from Arsenal. So not only did I have 2 Spectra auras out, but I also had the Arclight, and I just began to develop board position from there. Later on, when they finally did get their turn and get their own setup, you shove this, play this. Later in the game, play another one of these. It just becomes impossible for them to get go again. It's brutal. It can be brutal. So that is how I have personally overcome the Sir Bolton Breaker of Dawn matchup. KO and Armed but Dangerous is supposed to be another really hard matchup. Parable of Humility seems to have solved that. They really rely on blocking with those 6s because they want to use those swing bigs and other things. Very rarely will they block with those cards unless it's a Herald of Triumph. And then you can just Parable your way through it. Or obviously search through with Figment of Triumph. Let's talk about a few other matchups. Arachne has been a 100% win rate. Azalea is a 100% win rate. I don't know if it's supposed to be like that because Riptide, on the contrary. Oh, jokes. I don't know why this wasn't listed as the worst matchup. I have a 0% win rate against Riptide. Holy shit. 13 games. I have gone second. I've gone first. 0% on either one. Riptide just tears me up. And that terrifies me because, like I said, I was looking at Prism, Awakener of Sol, as possibly a Pro Tour runner, but I have seen Riptide get more and more popular. I'm keeping track of sales data for myself. Again, this is not a market channel, but I have noticed Riptide cards selling. I know people are practicing with them. I know people are cooking. I just don't understand why so much. Obviously, Riptide tears into Prism. Fucks up those warriors. Is he really good against anyone else, though? Are the mechanologists going to care? Is anyone else really? I don't know. Again, I only have a select number of heroes. I'm only testing one hero at a time for the most part, and then I have so much to test that I just can't deal with it. So let me look and see if there's not another secret bad matchup. Riptide and Bravo. Oh, Vinset. Vinset, I have a 0% win ratio against. I only have like 11 games into Vinset. I would not put a lot of stock into my specific setting because, again, I know for a fact my Vinset player tools very heavily against illusionists because we have a few illusionist mains in the area, probably 3 actually. And then I got onto it, so it was a 4th technically until I move on to new, which will be coming very soon. So that is like a quick overview. This is not going to be like a super in-depth guide. I don't have any gameplay footage or anything like that because I don't really play Talishar. I might put out a video following this on some gameplay for the Illusionist Prism Awakener of Sol, but I just kind of wanted to get this out there so anybody considering playing Prism might have another resource to look at that's a little more data-driven, not just I played one game, you watched my one game, and you got your confirmation bias. So again, big heroes that I left out of my testing, not on purpose, were Dash Inventor Extraordinaire, Dash IO, Dorinthia Ironsong. I don't think Phi's a big player right now, so we can skip that one. Kano was obviously tested pretty well, but it's just like 100% win rate. There's no reason. Kasai I didn't get a lot of practice against. Katsu I didn't get a lot of practice against because one of my local Katsu players who's very heavy into Katsu seems to not show up to any event but one that they worked at, and that's really unfortunate because they're a very fun player. No practice into Levia. People seem to have dropped her. No practice into Max. I'm the only Max in the area that's consistently playing Max. Olympia, I've not played the Mirror a whole lot. Reinar, that player has been either on hiatus for a while or I didn't get a lot of practice into them. And then again, Victor and Viserai. But Zen, I have 100% win rate into over 12 games. I don't know, again, like Arclight really just shuts that down. The Parables shut down all of the bonuses. They're not going to get a lot of the damage through that they think they're going to get through. And then, of course, they just got the bans. So that it just has not been working well for them. So again, 56.06% win rate. That is an above average win rate, I believe. I don't know if I compare it to my only other hero. That's pretty bad because Max Nitro had a 64.74% win rate into this last meta from Heavy to Mistveil is the data that I have for him. That could very well change. We have no idea. It's just that was the ProQuest season too, so I traveled quite a bit for the data on that one. That's like the whole Pacific Northwest and a little bit of West Coast sprinkle in there. Yeah, Max looks fantastic into this meta, so that's why I'm personally considering that, but this is not about that. This is about Prism, Awakener of Sol. My average health at the end of the game is 4. When I lose, the average health of the opponent is 10. Average difficulty of the match is 2.3, which means she does require a bit more thinking. I personally believe she's a harder deck to play. And my win ratio going first is like 68%, and win ratio going second is 44%. If you're forced to go second, it's not the end of the world, but going first seems to be the general play because you can drop 1 or 2 auras to start a board lead, or you can get some offensive damage out there if they just don't have the poppers, right? So this is my look into Prism Awakener of Sol. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know because this isn't as in-depth as the Max Nitro one because I didn't have as many games. I didn't have any high-level gameplay like ProQuests or traveling around for Battle Hards or anything like that on this Prism. This is a lot of local meta and a little bit of external meta. And then obviously I just have my experience with watching all of the nationals and all the other big events and what my local meta reported to me. Thanks so much for watching this episode. Not sure again what to call these things, but that's what they are. Check out the Patreon. That's the only way to get a hold of this deck list. That's the only way to get a hold of my testing data. You'll also obviously get into the Discord and my local testing area as well. Check out our TCG player for our Flesh and Blood cards. I'm going to be listing more and more on eBay, but there is a cap on the amount that I can list for free. So it's been slower and they sell out faster. So make sure to check those things out. And this one is zeroed.